Hello everybody and welcome to another Modern League. Today we're going to be playing everybody's favorite modern deck, Lantern Control. I was looking at some other lists for this deck trying to find one that I liked, but I couldn't really find any that I liked card for card, so I just kind of got some ideas from some of the different ones, and this is what I came up with. I have the Doctor Sword and the Meat combo with Urza that can go infinite. It's a good way to close out the game. Milling online can take a long time, and there's a lot of salty players online who will make you play out the deck, which is fine, but for the time constraint, just being able to have that infinite combo. Also, there's some things that just being able to close out a game, they may have too many things, or they may have stuff that, you just can't mill them away because they use their graveyard. So just being able to have a way to actually close out the game is good too. We're gonna also be playing War in the list. I've seen some that play the 4 bridges with Ancient Stirrings and some other things, but I like the War, being able to get bridge or one of the combo pieces or one of the lock pieces I'm looking for. The War is a little difficult to pay for with the triple blue and having cards like Academy Ruins, Inventor's Fair, and Saga that don't produce blue. But we have the Gardens to filter that colorless mana into blue, and then we got Talisman, we got Urza to try to help pay for that. So I think it'll work out. If it doesn't, if we don't have the triple blue, but we still get the cookbook, we can just discard it there to make a food and get our hand size down as we do have the bridge out. Other than that, it's a pretty typical Lantern Control deck, so let's see how it does game 1. On to match 1 of the league. We won the die roll, so we get to be on the play, which is definitely good. Very questionable opening hand here. We've got 3 1-drops and only 1 lands, but we do have the Lantern, we do have the Codex Shredder, we can even Codex Shredder ourselves to try to find our lands. And then if we do get the second land, we got a Spellskite we can play, and then we got our piece of a combo and the way to find the other piece of the combo. So it's very questionable with only 1 land, but I think it's worth trying, so we'll keep this. Looks like they're mulligan down to 6 cards. We're going to go and need on the Lantern to get some information. Okay, so they got a cookbook. Probably some kind of Asmo. Maybe the mirror. Okay, not the mirror. Street Wraith. Starting with the Neo Knight. Alright, so second Lantern coming up on top. 2 Lanterns doesn't really do anything, so won't be afraid if I have to use this Plexus to exile both of our top cards. I don't mind getting rid of the Lantern on top. Okay, I don't want them to draw this Profane Tutor. It can search, for whatever card. So I'm going to go and exile both of our top cards. They just let that happen. They don't sack the Neo Knight. Try to fight over it, so I guess that's good. Now they sack the Neo Knight to draw into the Street Wraith. I don't mind these cards they're drawing. And I don't mind drawing into this Codex Shredder, so we'll just not use Codex Shredder, which is always okay. With Codex Shredder being my next draw, I just want to maximize my use of mana here, so I'm going to play my 2-drop. Next turn I can play both 1-drop Codex Shredders. Okay, again, don't really care about Neo Knight, I'll let him draw that, but I do care about the secrets, so I'm going to try to mill that away. It's another tutor card, so I'm going to do this actually before he plays this Neo Knight, because once he gets that, he could sack the Neo Knight to draw a card. Gonna mill that away. does need it's not worth it to try to get rid of his land. It does look like he's stuck on land as well, but it's not worth it to try to fight over that, so I'll just let him draw the land. Plus, I really don't want to lose my Codex Shredder. Alright, so we do have another land on top, which is good. Go and play up my Codex Shredders. So, now I got 3 Codex Shredders and a Lantern. I should be able to keep him off of drawing good things. Unfortunately, he does have 4 cards still in his hand. And, yeah, one of them's an Emrakul and Grows Vengeance. So 2 cards that he had in hand that I never actually got to see with the Lantern. Definitely gonna be tough for the match. As he gets his Emrakul out, it has haste. He gets to shuffle his graveyard, so all my efforts of milling have been undone. And then he gets attack for 15 with Annihilator 6. At this point, I just want to keep my lands. I have the War, I have the Foundry. I'm going to try to make some kind of recovery. I will go and just use these before I sack him to Annihilator. I don't even really matter what I mill from him, I just want to use these. And I do want to draw this land, so I don't want to mill myself. So I'll go and sacrifice my 6 non-land permanents and go down to 5 life. And then Emrakul gets exiled. I draw my lands, play up this Foundry, and pass it back to him. He fetches the lands. So he's down to 3 cards in hands. One of them's Profane Tutor. Saga's a okay pickup here. So at this point I can War for 1. There's some good things I can get for 1. But I'm gonna hold off to see what he does to see what I should do. Asmo's pretty scary here, especially with being at 5 life. I can make a Saga token, but he's got enough food he could just kill the token. Bobble is an okay draw here. It does allow me to now War for 2. Again, making the Saga token here is just not really going to be that helpful. So he has 1 card in hands. He's Profaning Tutor for anything. And it looks like his 1 card in hand was either the Emrakul or the Goryo's Vengeance. And yeah, that's pretty good. So we do have an answer for this. We're just going to go ahead and War for 1. And get the Lantern to exile Emrakul. Just shuffles everything back in. Still gets his food. He did that during his upkeep to, I guess, just show that he had it and he didn't draw into it. I don't know why doing it during the upkeep, but so now he drew his 1 card for the turn. Attacks in, puts us down to 2 life. Alright, Bridge is like the best draw we could have got there. No reason to make a token here, he just kills it still. So, just float that mana. Go get Lantern to try to set a lock back up. Play at the Bridge. So now we got this Thopter Foundry, we can make a token, gain a life, sacking probably the Bauble. we don't really want to draw cards because we got the bridge out, so we can sack that if we need to. Neo Knight's fine. No cards in hand, so can't attack. Emrakul with he has no cards in hand, so I'm just gonna let that shuffle. I could use the Lantern, but I think keeping it for when he actually has a reanimating effect would be better. And he just scoops it up, so some people would be like this, they won't actually make you play off the whole thing and build him. Like, this is not a deterministic lock here, because we don't have the Codex Shredder, but it's definitely a tough fight. So they give it up. On to game 2. For game 2 against the Asmo Emrakul Living or Goro's deck, I put in the 2 Ashioks. They had a lot of tutor effects to try to get their combo. So Ashiok being able to exile the graveyard and prevent them from searching seems good. Putting Inquisition, try to hit their Goros before they can use it, and then put in the Stone Brain to try to Stone Brain away the Emrakul. Took out Aether Spellbound, doesn't do much against them. I don't really need the double Pine Needles. They don't name that much of what their deck does that I'm afraid of. Torpor doesn't really affect them either, so I took that out. And then I took out the Hex Parasite. It doesn't do a whole lot against their strategy, and it doesn't help my strategy of trying to use the sagas, make a bunch of tokens either, so we'll be on the draw for this one. Pretty questionable hand here. It's got 3 lands, but it's got 3 Codex Shredders. I really need more interaction for what they're doing, especially what their deck could, what kind of explosive hands their deck could have. Just, I don't want to be milling them, and there's, just not enough interaction to keep this hand, so we're mulligan this. Alright, this is a little bit of better interaction. I mean, it has the Ashiok to prevent him searching, and it does have a Spellskite, which doesn't do a whole lot against him, but this is probably better than what I can mulligan. I don't want to mulligan too aggressively. And it's got a Saga, which is going to help find some interaction as well. So, going to put one of these shores on the bottom. So they mulligan down to 5 cards, and they played a cookbook and a land, so they're already down to 3. And they're discarding the Daredevil. So it doesn't seem like too bad of a 5-card hand that they kept. War is good. It's another piece of interaction. So they're making a bunch of food. They play out the Boseiju, which is good for us. I mean, I guess they're really need the lands because Boseiju definitely could hurt us. Spellskite does actually help against Boseiju, so they're just making more food with the Daredevil. Unfortunately, Ashiok does not stop that interaction. And then now Asmo gets to kill the Spellskite, so. Making more food, and so they got 4 food. Yeah, they just go and have Spellskite deal 6 damage to itself. So at this point, I could make a token, but they just have so much food generation. Again, like, making a token doesn't actually matter. So I'm just going to play out the Ashiok here. Prevent them from searching if they do have the tutor effects. And I can mill them 4 here. They're going to attack this for 3. So it's at 5. I'll be able to use it twice. Ashiok's going to take 2 hits to kill it anyway, so might as well get a use out of it. It prevents 3 damage essentially. They're attacking it instead of me. And I milled away a Needle and 2 Sagas. And a Secrets. So not too bad. I don't even know if we saw a Saga last game. Shredder's good here, especially with Saga getting to go get me the Lantern. So I consider making a token here, but that way he has to sack the food right away, or I go get a Needle. But it's not worth it. He probably just does it anyway. So, and then I have to Needle Asmo, which I really would rather get the Lantern than the Needle. That way I can have this Codex Shredder be that much better. So now they're 4 cards in hand. I know one of them's Daredevil. And they're drawing into another cookbook, which I'm okay with them drawing another cookbook. Get out the Talisman. But I'm drawing into another Ashiok. I just want to try to get rid of some of their cards in the deck. So we'll mill the top 4, which is Cookbook, another Boseiju, and a Profane Tutor. So not bad hits there. And then drawing into another Daredevil, which is fine because double Daredevil doesn't really help him much. Gorio Vengeance, that one could be a little bit more of an issue, so I don't think I want them to draw that. They're just going to make some more food. They got a lot of food. But apparently they don't want the Vengeance either, so I guess they don't have Emrakul right now. They're just going to shuffle, and Vengeance is just going to stay on top. So Fable's a good card. I don't know. I guess they have like Neo Knight, but most of their spells are legendary anyway, so I guess it's not so much for the flip version. They're just playing it for the first 2 sagas, first 2 chapters of the saga. Go and mill away this Vengeance, and then I'm fine with them having Swamp. And they attack me for 3. So now I have the mana. I can get an Ensnaring Bridge, which is going to stop their Emrakul attack. It's going to stop their Asmo attack. It's even going to stop their little 2/2 goblins. So should be pretty good. So they draw into Profane Tutor and Emrakul, so they do have Emrakul in hand. They go and suspend the Profane Tutor. If they try to reanimate this Emrakul, they have to spend their mana, which means I can just bridge, and then Emrakul doesn't get to do anything. But they actually don't have the Goros, so they just shuffle and Emrakul stays on top. So before combat, I'm just going to get the bridge. They only have 1 card in hand, and it's a Daredevil, so I guess I knew they weren't going to reanimate the Emrakul. And then I'll draw into Saga, which is fine. It'll give me another Codex Shredder combo piece. Play at the Ashiok. With them having Emrakul on top, definitely want to mill that away with the Ashiok. The way that works is the shuffle effect will go on the stack, but their graveyard would be exiled before it even shuffles. And then, yeah, they scoop it up there, so they don't actually make me play out the whole thing. Their Profane Tutor is going to go off, but they can't search a library. They're not going to be able to deal with the Ashiok. I got the Shredder. The Ashiok just kind of becomes another Shredder effect. I'll only use it if there's a card on top that I care about milling. So we end up getting match 1 against Asmo Emrakul Vengeance deck. Currently 1-0 in league. Lost to die rolls, so we'll be on the draw. Good starting hand here. It's got the Bobble, which is nice with the Codex Shredder. We can look at the top card and decide if we want to mill it or not. So, don't know how good this Needle is going to be. Turn 1 Bloodstain. Alright, yeah, turn 1 Regvan's like the worst possible thing. Like, we don't have answers for it. So that's, I don't really care about milling that away, so we'll just play like the Shredder and not mill. Alright, Lantern's good here, because we already got the Shredder going. They mill away one of our bridges, so that's not good. That's one card we really want against them. And they Thoughtseize away Lantern. So this is probably one of the difficult matches. Like, there's a lot of them, but this, yeah, it's gonna be tough to try to come back. So I could try to just blindly name a fetch lands, but I'm actually gonna blindly name Dothi Voidwraith Walker here. I mainly just want to get the artifact out for this Inventor's Fair. Start maybe gaining 1 life a turn, so not really too relevant what I name, but they get in with Megavan again. Okay, at least this time they hit an island for us. Season Paro. Discard 2 lands, so even if we would have tried to name their Bloodstained Mire, like they can just discard it to that, so it wouldn't have been too impactful. Would discard 1 of these lands, we got plenty of them to make a food. Gain our 1 life. Inquisition's not bad here. Go and take the Fable. They did have the Voidwalker, so not a bad name, I guess. They play out the Voidwalker. Attack in for 4. And they hit our Hex Parasite, so they're drawing from our deck better than we are here. Alright. Saga's not too bad, except for the fact they just hit our Hex Parasite, so we won't be able to get this off of Chapter 1. This appears to be the first time they've ever used Hex Parasite. It's kind of weirdly interacted, where once you target it, after you target it, you still have to click on it again to remove the counter. So they just target it, don't actually move a counter. And then they attack in. Here, they recognize, now how to use it, so they use it correctly. They remove the counter, get to +1, bring us down to 5. Nothing else, and they hit a Bobble, so again, just drawing better than we are from our deck. End the turn, spending some of this mana, just going to try to gain back this 3 life. I know he has a Bolt too, so just trying to get my total up a little bit. Do want to keep this land in case I do draw. War is like my one thing I'm trying to, War or Bridge, so I do want to keep the triple blue to be able to War if I draw it. Yeah, that's a Spell Bomb. So I can bounce their Voidwalker, but if they plus up this Hex Parasite, they still swing for lethal. I should have, yeah, there's a Bolt. So I should remember the Bolt. I should have just sacked the Spell Bomb to maybe try to draw into something. Now it's too late when I remember, and I can try to draw, but even if I draw War at this point, I don't have the triple blue because I tapped the Garden. Draw anyway, and it's another land, so yeah, just a tough match, and their draws off of Regavan was so much better than our draws off of our decks, so that's a tough match. They get game 1. We'll try again game 2. So against Scams, I sided in the 3 ley lines and the 2 prismatic endings. I took out the pipe needle, the welding jar, and the hand disruption. Like that, I'm really not going to try to out hand disrupt the hand disrupt deck. So just take those out and bring in the ley lines to help against the hand disruption. So we get to be on the play, which does help against Scams. Very questionable hand here. It does have the ley line, which is really tempting, and it's got the bridge, but it's only got 1 land again, and it doesn't have as many good 1 drops as that other 1 lander we kept. But it's also it's got the ending, so if they do get the Regavan and we do draw a white source, we're in good shape there. I may just be over tempting it because it does have the ley line. Leyline can be really good against the Grief Scam, but I'm going to try it. Play out Codex Shredder. And they have the Fury Scam, which is super unfortunate. I mean, turn 1, 4/4 double striker. I don't know. Their deck's just really good. And then the Dayline's probably about the worst draw we can hit. It's, another 4-drop when we're stuck on 1 land. They got the Voidwalker, so yeah, this is a very short clock here. We did hit the land, and it is a white source, so we get to ending the Voidwalker, which is nice. I mean, we still, have a 4/4 double striker that we gotta worry about. And we did not hit our land for the bridge. There you go, turn 3 format. I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. Turn 1, 4/4 double strikers. Just really good. And quick game. Well, 1-1. Try the next match. Into match number 3, when the die rolls, good to be on the play. Good opening hand here, got Inquisition and Lantern, got the Saga to try to find their other piece. We're gonna be away from the war, currently only have 2 sources of blue, but still good. Gonna start off on the Inquisition, see what they have in hand. Let's see if we can get rid of Regavan or something good. And it looks like Living Ends. They have a Grief, but no other black card to pitch. Only choice is Brace and Borrow or Outburst, so pretty easy choice there. Play out their land, that do we know about. Okay, Thoughtseize is good. We already know most of their hands. There's only 1 mystery card, so I don't think we really need to Thoughtseize anything they have going on. I think it's better just to get the Talisman out, and then get the Lantern, see what they're drawing into, and see what we're drawing into. So they fetch, shock, or they don't shock, so they just fetch, no shock. Okay, so they're going to draw into a force. They did draw Architects, so that was a black card to pitch for Grief. They get to look at our hand, and they take away our war, which we were a while away from casting it anyway, but looking at the other two cards, I guess that's probably the better choice. Draw Academy runes. And go and get the Thoughtseize. I would like to make a token here, so the cookbook I don't care too much about, especially I don't have any cards in hand anyway. I do want to get rid of the Brazen Borrow. One way I win this match is hiding behind the bridge. So getting rid of that Brazen Borrow. Brazen Borrow is one of the main deck ways they have of dealing with bridge. Force is also a way they can deal with bridge. But I don't have anything to stop them from drawing. But they do shuffle, so they stop themselves from drawing. But they do get the Violent Outburst on top. And then they get to Master Waves. I don't actually get to see. I guess I see they put the Force in the graveyard, so that means they put the Living, or they put the Outburst on top. Make the token in a turn. So I want to, off this Saga, get the Lantern to exile the graveyard. So I'm not going to make a token here, because if I do, that just incentivizes them to living in now. But I do actually float the mana, so I could have actually sequenced this where I left it untapped. I'm not going to use this mana anyway, so just leaving it untapped would have been better. They would either have to respond to my search, in which case I could make a token afterwards, or they just let me search, which means I just get to put the Lantern into play. So that's kind of a punt. The game living ends. Now I can't make a token because I already tapped my Saga. They get the Grief away. The Cookbook. And then I get the Spellbomb. I can bounce Massive Waves to their hand, and then it's not actually that fast of a clock. But I end up now just not really going to utilize that one extra mana I had here. I would have rather have had a token, but I put Spellbook back on top. I can try to slow down their clock some more. But I mean, a token wouldn't block either of these anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. Take the 6 down to 12. I really don't want to draw the Thoughtseize. They also now are showing Boseiju on top, so hiding behind a bridge is not looking likely. And I don't really want to bounce either of these. Brazen Bar, just he can easily recast. Grief. I guess we don't actually be able to recast with the mana they have, so that one wouldn't be too bad to bounce. And then now they have the War as well, so they can, if I do eventually get the bridge, they have that they can use to bounce, and the Thoughtseize doesn't even hit that, so my outs are running low. Go and just try to draw here, try to draw into something, shuffle, because I don't really want to land. I'm dead on board, so I need something, and Sword is not what I needed, so end up losing game 1 to Living In. Got a lot in the sideboard for them though. First sideboarding, took out the 2 Thoughtseize, the 2 Needles. They don't really have anything worth needling besides maybe Boseiju, and took out one of the jars. They do have quite a bit of artifact removal, so I don't know, maybe jar was worth keeping in. They do like to side in the into the battlefield, destroy a creature and the forces, but I think just having the Inquisitions to try to hit away their cascade spells is really the better route to try to go here. And then I put in Ashioks as well, they're good in this matchup. Stone Brain, and yeah, the third Inquisition. Opening hand's good here. We got the Bauble, Codex Shredder, Trick, where we can look at the top card, decides we want to mill it. And then we got turn 2 Stone Brain. Into turn 3, we can Stone Brain away the Living Ends, which makes him just a lot more fair deck. It makes it easier for us to beat him. So start off Bauble. Force of Vigor is definitely a card I do not want him drawing. So I will go and play the Codex Shredder and mill that one away. We got the Grief exiling one of their Living Ends. They hit our Stone Brain, so we won't get to do that one. Ashiok's good here. Inquisition's a whiff. Maybe would have been better left the Thoughtseize in, but I mean, it's good looking at their hand and seeing that there is no, that they're trying to draw into the Cascade spell, so. And they only have 2 cards that draw cards. So they go and cycle 1 away. It's normally pretty dangerous to just blindly mill the Living End deck, but because I have this Ashiok, and it's very unlikely that they have Force plus blue card, having seen their hands and knowing that they discard 1 blue card, they would have had to draw Force for the turn and blue card for the cycling. It's worth it just to just mill away a card so I can play this Ashiok and then exile the graveyard. So milling him is just 1 more card in exile. So go ahead and mill him again first, and then mill him with the Ashiok. At this point, the Bauble I would actually rather keep as a mana for this Urza, so just leave that on the battlefield for right now. And then, yeah, that's Street Wraith into another cycle. Like, they're desperately digging here to try find probably a Cascade spell, and they don't find one, so next turn I just get to Ashiok, mill that away. They saw enough. On to game 3. No change to sideboard, keeping it as it was, worked. Okay hand here, War can hopefully try to find this something good. We got Inquisition to hit maybe something in their hand, one of their Cascade effects, so it's keepable. And there's Lantern, so that's good. That's like the 2-card combo there is Lantern and Codex Shredder. Go and lead off on the Inquisition and double Force plus Boseiju. They do only have 2 lands, so this Boseiju is most likely gonna not be used to destroy something, but we do get to hit one of their Cascade spells, and they don't have another black card for the Grief. And the only green card they have is Force, so exiling Force to exile Force is, I mean, it definitely hurts, but it's not too bad. Netherlands, Garden is a good one, especially within knowing that they have Force. I can copy whatever their target, so I still have it. Play out the Lantern, Codex Strider, Soul Guide Lantern's gonna be really good against them. Alright, so let them draw the Brazen Borrow. They do play out their Boseiju. And go and make them mill away. If I can get lucky and mill away all their living ends, then I mean that works too, so I'll mill away the one that I can. Also, it just gives them a black card to pitch to Grief, so milling that's fine. Go ahead and play out the Lantern. And they did it's interesting they pitched the Brazen Borrow. They really want to save open this 3 mana. They could have, yeah, they could have got the double blue, so I don't know why they did that. And then they didn't even spend the 3 mana, so I mean I know what most of their hand is, I don't know why they pitched. But they do have the double black now, so they get to Grief, they get to hit our War, so now we just got a bunch of lands. At this point, we can use Codex to actually, you know, try to manipulate our jars, so mill away this lands. They were drawing a land anyway, so that's fine for us. Just try to mill away our land. And then another land's under that, so just keep milling away our lands to try to find something. Foundry's pretty good here. I mean, it's not, you know, ideal of what we want, but with how many forces they have, just being able to sacrifice our permanents in response to make tokens, at least get something. Attacking with Grief. And they got a force on top. So they actually force us here during our upkeep. Go ahead and sacrifice the Thopter to itself to make a Thopter, and then mill away their force. And then I don't mind them drawing. Well, I'm gonna Stonebrain them anyway, so didn't really need to sack the Lantern for any reason. Didn't have the mana to sacrifice it to the Thopter, because I'm going to need all 4 of this to play out Stonebrain. And then get to exile all their copies of Living End. So now they just have 1 card left in hand, and it's another force. They draw into a mystery card. Which is Street Wraith. So at this point, rather than taking the mystery card on top, I'm just going to go ahead and put Lantern on top with Academy Runes, play that out. I really just want to try to manipulate their draws and our jars, try to get into, you know, something helpful, get some of these lands off top. They attacking for 6, get to block here, prevent some of the damage. They're drawing into a land, so that's fine with us. Just mill away this garden. Don't really want to draw a second Lantern, it doesn't really help. But it's better than drawing into one of these other, or it's better than drawing that and keeping this Codex Shred up to mill. So Urza is going to be a good card to draw. Take the 6 here, down to 6. Can copy the Codex Shredder here, just help our chances of finding, what we're looking for. Draw out the Urza. This is going to be 2 blockers. Can't block the Menace, but I mean it is a big creature for the blocking the Street Wraith. So. And this does get the Force of Vigor out of hand. I couldn't respond. So this is end the turn. I could in response use the Urza, but depending on what I hit, I probably won't be able to cast it. So just rather mill away my lands. They attack in. Free block on the Street Wraith. Take the 3, go down to 3. Mill away. I don't really want Inquisition right now. I don't really want this land either, so mill that. Ashiok's good, but it's not. With already having Living Ends out, Ashiok's not actually going to be all that great right now, so just going to go ahead and draw back into Thopter Foundry. Put that on top. Thopter Foundry is going to both give me blockers and gain me some life. And then if I can find the sword, I can just combo and be infinite life and infinite Thopters. They attack in here. Double Lantern's not really necessary, so sacrifice one of them, make a blocker, and then just double block the Grief to get that off the battlefields. Just killing a creature is going to be better than chump blocking, so kill the creature there. Take the 3, go back down to 1, but now the Menace creature is gone, which is definitely good. They do get to Shard this Agent, which is nice because that Foundation Breaker, I'm glad with them shuffling that away. They reveal the entire deck because they don't have anything left. They can cascade into. The 5/5 is a little annoying, but it's not trample anything or evasion, so I can easily chump block that with Thopters. So mill away my own Ashiok. Baubles, I mean, at least an artifact. Now at this point, I should have Urza'd. I don't know, I just wasn't thinking about his ability. I was thinking more of just making Thopters and putting things using Academy runes, but going to sock the Bauble, make a Thopter, and I do have to chump block because I'm at too low of life. And then now they played a big 5/5. And then I ended up not using any of the mana, so yeah, definitely was worth. I should have just Urza'd. Drawn to the Saga. Saga's going to be good here. It can make a couple of tokens that are going to be bigger than their creatures. And then again, I missed the opportunity where I could have used Urza and shuffled. So forgetting about that again, but going sacking some stuff to make some blockers here. I only need to make 1 blocker. I can actually take the 2 damage from the Shardless Agent and blocks that. I know their top card was the guy that was Foundation Breaker, so I don't want them to draw into it with Street Wraith. So mill them that away. drawing into Spellskite, which is going to be good blocker. And at this point, I finally actually remember Urza, but now I have my mana being spent elsewise, so I don't actually get to use it. They attack in. I make. Unfortunately, it's only a 4/4, so it doesn't live through. Doesn't trade with the 5/5. Start to block, but I realize I'd rather kill the Street Wraith, so I block better here, and then sack the Spellskite, gain a life, make a Thopter, and they have a Violent Outburst, which again just reveals their deck, but it gives their creatures +1, which does mean that Contract Token will trade. Urza will still live, and their creature still jump blocked, so. Now I'm keeping in mind, Codex Shredder, I can actually sack to return War, which can get the other piece of the combo, but that's going to cost a lot of mana to do. Total of 5 for the activation plus 5 for War, so that's a total of 10 mana. So that will be an option eventually, but right now we're just trying to, get to the point where I can do that. So go and get it to Lantern so I can start manipulating draws again. Play out Spellskite. And then the Force is actually going to interfere with that whole idea of bringing back the War and then trying to get the combo. So I debate on if it's worth it to just let him draw the Force, because the Force doesn't actually get him out of the current situation, so I think I'm fine with him having it rather than drawing into, something that actually destroys something relevant. And they, I guess, don't want to sit here and watch me mill them out, so we end up getting match number 3 against Living End. Currently 2-1 in league, going on to match number 3. We lost a die roll. Good starting hand here. We got double Codex Shredder, got the bridge, and Saga and land. And there's the baubles. We get to look at the top card. Grinding Station. Don't really want to mill them, but I would like to mill away Grinding Station. They go and shuffle. And Express is also a good card to mill away, so we drew into our third land. And there's an Urza, so we can get the Lantern out. And there's the Grinding Stations back, so mill that away. And Fable, I don't really like them drawing, but I think it's probably not worth milling. Heat, I don't really care about. It only hits 2 things in our deck. So you get Fable. Draw into Inquisition, so we get to see what they got going on in their hands. They got, click to a little faster, double Fable, Bolt, and Saga. So hit the Bolt, they still got double Fable left. I mean, the Fables aren't that scary with this bridge coming out here soon, so. Heat's fine. Bobble's fine, I'll get rid of the Express. Oracle, I mean, as long as I know it's in their hand and I try to play around, make sure, I Inquisition them first, that's fine with me, with letting them draw it. Creative, play Fable, get to attack with Goblin. But actually I do end up milling it away. Haywire Might is definitely good against us. It can, you know, hit our bridge or any of this other stuff we got going on, so. And they go and play the second Fable. Go ahead and float mana, and then I got to name Haywire Might. It just is gonna destroy the bridge, or destroy any of this. So mill away Emery, because that's gonna be really good against us. Just being able to bring back artifacts after we mill them away, and then hope to just be able to hide behind a bridge. There's Sagas solving off here. They do end up discarding Heat, drawing some cards. And then they discard another Heat, and they end up drawing into Underwood's Breach, which is like, yeah, one of the worst things we could have seen them draw into, because now they get to play Underworld Breach, and then they get to grind these stations already in the graveyard from previous, so now there's just nothing we can do to stop. Being able to draw 2 cards a turn, they got to hide the Breach behind the second card they drew, so we never actually got a chance to mill it with Codex Shredder. And then now, there's a small chance they can whiff, depending on how late their Mox and other spells are. Actually, I don't know, maybe they can't whiff, but either way, stick out to see a little bit more. And then now they've got 2 blue mana, they've got Okul already in the graveyard. Now they just mill away their library, and can't do anything to stop them, so they get game 1. For sideboarding, I took out 2 Thoughtseize, Aether Spellbomb, and Spellskite, Welding Jar, and I put in the 2 Ashioks, are good to keep the graveyard down, the Might of my own, and Stone Brain to try to get their combo piece. Opening hand's another 1-lander, so I don't know. Deck doesn't play that few of lands to be seeing this many 1-landers, but it again is a very got half the combo or 2/3 of the sword combo. Needle, it's got a lot of the stuff that I want to see, so try keeping this 1-lander. And leading off on the Codex. Going to mill away a card because I have the Lantern. I can play it in exile, whatever I mill. And I would have liked to have exiled something better there, but I want to at least make sure I mill something or exile something. So they got Saga, Bobble, and there's Haywire Might again, and Emery, which Haywire Might plus Emery is definitely a scary combo. Go and start milling away cards to try to be able to use this Lantern to, hopefully mill away some key cards I can exile. Bridge isn't really helpful, especially in how this game's going. Going to play with the Needle, try to hit the Haywire Might, and get Spell Pierced. So, missing my land drop, so I can't pay for that. Just still trying to mill away cards. they bring back engineered explosives. I'm not really afraid of engineered explosives. It's killing their 1-drops I'd be more happy with than, you know, losing mine. And the Express, they do still play it out for 1, just to have it sitting there. Draw into another non-lands, and unfortunately of my 2 lands here, I don't have any of my green source producing lands. So Haywire might. Also, they don't even, I mean, I guess I could hit their Saga, but they don't really have that many targets I'd even want to hit with Haywire. Go ahead and make a construct, needle the Lantern, play a Bauble. I mean, at this point, they could just be using this Might and, you know, killing a permanent per turn, gaining 2 life, but they're just bringing back Baubles for card draw and attacking with monkeys, so I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm not getting 3rd lands. I did draw the rest of the combo here, so I have all 3 pieces. I just am face down with a Might that can easily just exile 1 of the pieces, and not enough lands to play the pieces, so they end up getting Rigavan again, attacking in, and then they hit Stonebrain off of the Rigavan. I mean, at this point, like, I don't have any outs. I would have to play a lands, play up bridge, and have them not have the Might. Like, I'm just going to die this construct. So we lose against I forget the name of the deck. We lose against Breach. There we go, Breach. Final match, deciding whether we go positive 3-2 or the negative 2-3. We do win the die roll, so we get to be in the play. That'd be a good hand that doesn't do a whole lot. I don't know how effective the soul would be, but it does have 2 sagas, which does make it questionable. And yeah, I do actually end up keeping this just because the sagas would be able to make some tokens and get our locked pieces. And they are playing Companion. This one's normally associated with Calculated Blast, which don't have a whole lot main deck against that deck, so this seems like a fine hand, being able to make the Saga tokens. But then here's a Fable, which most likely means it's not Calculated Blast, so not quite sure what this deck is then. But we're going to make a Construct token and get the Lantern, play the Shredder so we can start manipulating their draws. Attack in 6 here. Attack back Goblin, make a treasure. Okay, so Cavern on Elemental. Omnav, yeah, this is some kind of elemental. Go ahead and used the War to try to get a Torpor Orb to stop this Omnath. And they have Leyline Binding. Unfortunately, Torpor Orb does not stop Leyline Binding, so they do get that. And they still get the Omnath. See their hand, so they got Fury and Solitude. Take away the Fable. They can't actually use either Fable or Solitude right now. Or Solitude or Fury right now, so attack in for 6. I could have made it 7 there, make them go down to 4. But I'd rather just hold up the mana. Could play Solitude, so now I'll go ahead and make the token to gain the 1 more life. And then they attack. They have the Fury in hands with that treasure token. They will be able to cast it, so I don't really want to trade my token for their token. I'll just take the 2. And they bring their companion to their hands. I don't really want to draw the Spell Bomb. Not really anything that they're doing do I want to bounce. So mill that away. Make another token. Grab the Needle to name the Reflection, which, looking at this, maybe wasn't. I mean, it puts them in a situation where now they're going to chump block with Reflection. It made their choice because they do have to chump here. Had I not named Reflection, they might have chumped with Omnath and then just had Reflection Solitude going on. But with Needle on Reflection, makes that pretty easy for them. So another Solitude. Play their companion. Go ahead and let them draw Solitude. They're getting ahead now. Like, I'm not gonna win the aggression to where I'm just gonna try to go to the lock now. So Solitude's fine. It gains me life, and it doesn't affect my lock. I do misclick there. I accidentally sacrificed the Lantern when I meant to tap the Codex Shredder to mill myself, so bit of a punt there. And fine with drawing the lands, but not the second land, and then I draw their land anyway, so that's not ideal. Solitude. I'll go ahead and use a garden to come another Codex so I can try to mill some more and do that in response so I gain the 1 more life. And yeah, there's Fairy. So now I'm just trying to mill to find the lantern or the bridge, which I don't find, so end up losing my game 1 to Elementals. In game number 2 against Elementals, I sideboarded out the Inquisitions. Their deck doesn't play anything that costs less than 3, so they seem fine to take out, but I didn't have a whole lot of options, so I ended up siding in the Prismatic Endings. They actually also seem bad for the same reason Inquisition's bad, but I put in the 1 Haywire Mites and the 1 more Spellskite, because Spellskite's good against most of what the removal is, and I took out the Welding Jar. It doesn't help as much against the Leyline Binding or the Teferi. And then they don't really have graveyard interaction, so Soul Guide Lantern I took out. It might be better than the Leyline, the other binding, Prismatic Ending, because at least it can cycle and draw a card, and it's an artifact I can have in the battlefield. Yet again, another one lander for the night with another lot of 1-drops, a 0-drop. Not only that, but our 1 lands will be destroyed if we don't control an artifact. Super risky, but they don't have any 1 or 2 drops, so I think it's worth it to try turn 1 bauble. I could sack the bauble, try to do the whole, Codex Shredder thing, but I really don't want this Glimmer Void to die, so I want to keep both my artifacts on the battlefield. And then, yeah, I draw the Prismatic Ending that I was talking about previously, that I don't know why I kept in the deck. Not going to be able to really ending anything they play. Alright, so good Thoughtseize here to see they got nothing until turn 5 as I get rid of this Omnath. Just a bunch of lands and 2 5-drops. So now I feel better about this hand and being able to just bobble them to try to draw my second land. Okay, I don't draw my second land, but Lantern is good. Mill them. And then play out the Lantern. So I can try to manipulate my own draws to hit a land, which I am drawing a land, so I can mill away their Omnath. Still know their hand. They've got 2 5-drops, so Thoughtseize. I don't really have a reason to play it this turn. I can just play it to Spellskite. Thoughtseize them. This does get the Dispute out of their hands, so that's good. Now I can get Needle and just Needle the Misty Rainforest. I know they're drawing into it, so it's a dead draw of a land. We put out the Elish. Just gonna mill away that Risen Reef. I don't like this binding either. Just gonna mill that one away. And I don't really like the Force, but at least that one I can play around, and well, I don't have a choice, I can't mill it away. They attack in, I can just make a construct and block. They can flash in their Solitude here and exile my Spellskite to make my construct a 4/4. But they end up not doing that, so my construct lives. And now I get to make another construct and go get another Codex Shredder. Try to prevent them from drawing something that gets them out. And then, again, just naming the fetch lands. So they do Solitude in response to the attack. So if they're going to Solitude, I don't know why they didn't just Solitude last turn, but go and redirect both of them to Spellskite. Keep my 7/7 around, and they don't block, so they go down to 12. Bring the Companion to their hand. I mill away the Lantern because I don't need a second Lantern. Draw into Inventor's Sphere is fine. It's going to give me some life overturns and maybe get to activate the ability. Go and attack to force a block here. So go to start casting War, but that's, yeah, the triple blue is, you know, difficult to get off, so I can't actually War, but we'll get rid of these Solitudes. And then they get to draw into a Risen Reef. And attacking for 4. And then I'll go and make a copy of these Shredders. If I can get up to enough lands, I can activate these Shredders and bring back a Saga or something. I don't really have too many good targets right now, but middle way there, and then I guess that's enough. They concede game number 2. Last game of the league, match 5, game 3. I fixed my sideboarding, taken out the prismatic endings. They are not good in this matchup. Put in the slightly better cards. Pretty slow, bad hand here. Just mulligan that. Also pretty bad hand here. It's got all the pieces for the combo except for the lands to play them. But it does have 2 lands, so put the Urza on bottom. It's a really tough choice there in those 7. I don't know if Urza is the one I should have kept or not, but with them having so many Solitudes and Urza just being such a target for that, I don't really want it in the opener. I want to try to establish board and then get the Urza, so I think that one's the best one to put on bottom. Do draw the lands, and that is not a good one to see on top, so Force of Vigor there. Play it to Bauble, and then I do know about the Force, which is why I wanted to try and make sure I have 3 artifacts, so if they do use the Force, I don't lose this Glimmer Void. And they go get 2 Triomes. Kind of thought there was going to be a binding there, but I guess it's just 2 come play tapped. And then they do end up using the Force. And then they follow it up with the Teferi. Now they could bounce my Bauble here. I could sack it and they don't get a draw, but also I'd lose a land, so I don't know. I think that would have been worth it for them to deny my lands, even if it cost them the draw. But they actually just plus. So then I just am able to War for 1 and get a Needle. Needle the Teferi, prevent it from being able to bounce whatever else I would play. Draw the Garden, get out of Bridge, and play the Codex Shredder. So almost unlock, just need a way to see the top cards. Go ahead and look at the top cards, Fable. I go and try to get rid of that. Milling that away. I draw into Urza, which is good to see. Play it out. Make a pretty nice construct. And then play it to Hex Parasite. And of course I do have the Solitude for the Urza as predicted. Go ahead and use the Urza now I have it and just use this Hex Parasite. And remove 4 counters from Teferi. I do have the needle, but at least if they get rid of the needle, now their Teferi's only at 1, and it's, you know, less scary. And they had dead for the Hex Parasite there. Kind of, I guess they just didn't want me to actually finish Teferi off on untap. Draw a land, play it for the turn. Hide behind a bridge. Just blindly milling them cards. I'm actually doing pretty bad here on the clock. I'm 4 minutes behind, so just trying to speed up the game and mill them blindly. Drawing to a Netherlands. So now these Codex Shredders, I can get back Stop Their Foundry, I can get back War. There's some different good things. Or I can get back Lantern to start trying to get the lock. They bring the companion and they cast it, so they get to fill their hand up with 3 more cards. At this point, I don't want to do something risky, like trying to get back War, just to have it like forced, and then I just lose so much for to the force. So end up not sacking the Shredder. And Elishnorn doesn't really do too much against us. Does get to double all their effects here. Teferi still doesn't do anything with Needle out, but I guess now if they do deal with Needle, they got a Teferi on 4. Bob will look at their top cards of lands. I'll make the construct. And then no point to make another construct. Just rather have the mana. Play with another Shredder. Yeah, get the Lantern off the Urza, so now I got 4 chances of mill. Should be pretty good, but there's the Force Vigor. Gets rid of the Needle and the Bridge. Teferi bounces a token, so definitely it's a good force. It's yeah, and there's a Solitude too, so definitely game changing around quite quickly thanks to the force. It's a big attack, and then at this point I need to find another bridge. So mill away pretty much anything that's not a bridge. Urza's good here, but with Elish not making a token, it's not gonna save me, so mill that away. Mill away lands. Set stop during my upkeep so I can try to mill some more. Doesn't help me. Doesn't help. And then there's a Whir, which will get me the bridge. I have to cast its sorcery speed because Teferi. And then now back to trying to hide behind the bridge. This time Teferi is going to be able to plus up and bounce it. They do miss a Teferi thing there. They've had it needled for the past few turns, so they might just forget that it's not needled anymore. Go ahead and build ourselves some to try to find some way out. And the land's good here because that will allow us to sack one of these Shredders and get a second bridge. So if they bounce the first bridge, we still gotta back up. They Remember the Teferi this time and plus it up. Play a Fable. Sack to bring back Bridge. Play second Bridge, play Bobble. Running low with only 3 minutes, 40 seconds left. Fine with him, Solitude. Fire and Ice is bad, I'm at 10. They can fire down to 8, which is only 2 Omnav triggers. So here, I'm just trying to, they're down to 19 cards, so I'm just trying to mill what I can. Maybe try to get it so their fetch lands can't fetch, because I'm almost just dead to them sacking their fetch lands. Their 2 fetch lands, getting 2 lands, triggering Omnath. So trying to get something here. Spellskite's not too helpful. Bobble's definitely not helpful. And Solitude does get 2 Resident Reef triggers and gets to get rid of my Spellskite. They get to draw Force and Omnav. Just milling away their fetchable lands. Try to mill away Binding. They try to make a token. Try to mill it away again. They flash in and they get down to low cards in library, down to 12. But that Binding's going to be able to double trigger with the Elish Norn, which will get rid of both bridges. And I'm at 6 life, so that attack will be lethal in. So they get to, and they get a force there too, so they just force and get to attack in. 7 cards left in the library. Maybe could have played that a little better. Might have misplayed somewhere. Definitely when the clock gets low, got less time to think about decisions and maybe made some play mistakes. But that was the league with Lantern Control. Ended up 2-3. There's just some decks this seems unwinnable against, like Scams. I don't think there's any world where we actually win a game against Scan. They just have too many answers and they are just too fast. Really, there's a lot of decks I think are just too fast for Lantern that can just be bad matchups. Even some of these ones that should be a little bit better because they're grindier, still are tough. They just have a lot of interaction. And you can only mill away so much of it, mill away almost the entire library, down to 7 cards, but that's it. Let me know what you think. Don't know that I'll be playing a lot more Lantern Control. It's fun to bring this deck out once in a while. It did get some new toys with the Gardens, which I do think the Gardens helped the deck a lot. I just think a lot of the other things in this format are keeping the deck down. As good as it is, there's just things like Force of Vigor out there that is going to be tough. EE, Brothers War, just a lot of things that, even though this deck seems really good, it's just really bad against. We also luckily didn't see any Karns this league, but Karn is a card that is just really difficult to beat as well. So let me know what you think in comments. Remember, like and subscribe if you like what you saw, and I'll see you in the next video.